and welcome to the Best of You Expo. I am Michelle Faust, and I am speaking with a panel of amazing women for an hour, and I am so excited to be able to introduce them. But first, we need to give thanks to our sponsor, Chelsea Colley, who is allowing us to be a part of this great exposition. She is just coming out with her book, Be a Life Breather. It's an amazing book, all about spreading love, empowerment from the heart, and living the dream. So I hope you will all be watching from August 1st through August 7th, the Best of You Expo. If you want to reach out to Chelsea, you can find her at chelseacolley360.com or text gift box to 26786. She's got a bunch of really great gifts that she wants to share with you. So with that, I would like to introduce the guest that I have. We have with us Kristine Binder. She is an empowerment coach and a teacher of fifth graders. Fifth graders, wow. I don't envy you that one. I hope you are empowering your fifth graders. But we also have Lynn Brown, who is a 3-time author, which is so impressive to me because that just speaks to my heart. And Aislinn Ellis, who is an organizer, advocate, and author as well. So welcome to all of you for being here.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, excited to have you. And actually, you were all authors because you all three were in the very first series of The Lemonade Stand. And you all contributed a chapter and helped to make it a wonderful success. And so I'm so appreciative for you being not only on the Lemonade Stand, but we've all considered to continue to support each other and be there to see each of us continue to grow and just be connected. So thank you for that first and foremost. So I've had all of you come on because I wanted you to speak a little bit about your experience with being an author on the Lemonade Stand, and then also to speak to the topics around Chelsea's book that she put out there. So first, I want to give a little bit of information about the Lemonade Stand for anyone who is not familiar with it. I'd like to think the entire world has read it, but I think we're a little shy of that. The Lemonade Stand came out December 4th was the publication date, and it came out to a lot of excitement, lots of engagement around it. It's all about sharing stories. So I had 18 women join me, myself, so 19 chapters total about our lemon to lemonade stories. Because let's face it, we all have stories, right? Even for those people who tell me they don't have a story, I say, you've got a story. We all do. We all have lemons in our life, and it's all about making the lemonade. So the Lemonade Stand was a real defining moment for me. It was my opportunity to rebrand and launch my business under Lemonade Legend and provide multiple platforms for women to share their stories. And so with that, I just want to give a little bit of my, what behind my reasoning and my why for this is because I grew up with a severe hearing loss. It impacted me in a big way growing up because kids are mean. And so in school, you know, there's the bullying, there's the trying to fit in when you don't fit in like the norm. And so I took that with me into adulthood and took a lot of self-doubt. I took a lot of that imposter syndrome with me into my adulthood. And then as I matured to an unknown age to be said at this point, I started to learn that I'm not an imposter. I am a person who has a story. I'm a person who is capable. and a person who has a powerful why and a purpose behind what I do. So that is where I come from, is from that book, spring loading off into many platforms of a magazine, of soon to be a TV show, podcast, and different stage presences. So this is all about sharing your story and how it is powerful and how it wraps into all about spreading love, all about empowerment. It is so much coming from the heart and living the dream as well. So it fit in so perfectly with Chelsea and her book that is just being released. And so I wanted a chance to have these amazing ladies join me and share a little bit of their experience in writing their chapter and how it's impacted them. So with that, I'm going to start with you, Aislinn, and let's talk a little bit about spreading the love and what that means to you.
Well, I'm so thankful that you asked me to talk about spreading the love, because I often make the joke in my everyday life that I'm like the Care Bear around. I have, despite what I've been through in my backstory, and it certainly hasn't been a fun ride, but despite all of that, I've still maintained my heart, and I've still maintained the love that I have, and the empathy, like that just goes through my body. It's something that at times I wish I could turn off, but I can't. And writing this book and coming through and reliving some of the things with the gift of hindsight, right? I've been able to really put on this filter and this lens in how I view the world. So it has helped heal me in a way that I never thought I'd get to. I used to be so angry. Like I'd try to hide my heart, right? And I just kind of hide from the world. I got stuck doing the day-to-day. I put myself in a bubble where I was safe and everybody I interacted with was very safe. I come from a family business, and that's what I jumped in, and that's where I stayed until I kind of grew out of that. And in spreading the love, it didn't hit me until I wrote the book, until I wrote my story. Until I relived the terrible things. I cried about it one last time, and moving forward, I've not cried about it since. It's so healing, and I cannot stress that enough. I support Michelle and everything that she's done, because the gift that she's given me in just the opportunity in writing that story, everybody that's in my life now, I look at as a completely different viewpoint than I would have before. There's that, I was a little late to the saying, hurt people hurt people. Well, I didn't know that. And now that I know that, it feels completely different to interact with people. I can feel their hurt right off the bat. And all I do is love them. You know, it's so freeing and so, it's so uplifting to just come from a place of love. And in today's world where there's just so much hate, there's so much, you can't go down the street, you can't get in your car, you can't do anything without feeling people just being angry and upset. And so a smile, you would not believe the difference a smile can make. If you look at the most evil person in the world and you offer them a smile, you feel something different. If you look at everybody, that everybody's hurting, and you realize that what they are doing is coming from a place of hurt and that they're better than that, it sounds a little sappy to say, but coming from that love and feeling that love, and the ladies that I've met along the way, you guys, I love you. Like, it's so much easier to say that word, and I've made peace with that word. It's easier to live a life filled with love and to love others than it is to filled with hate. It takes so much more muscle. It takes so much more energy. It takes so much more of everything that you only have a limited amount of to come from a negative, hurtful, angry place. When you come from love, you're living in the light. And there's a reason they talk about living in the light. It's because it's so much freer. It's so much easier to breathe, and it's so much more fulfilling than coming from someplace hateful and someplace angry. So I 100% believe in spreading the love. And Michelle, Girl, I love you. I can't, I can't turn it off now. So you turn that on in me, and if all I can do is take a few minutes to tell people about it, I do that every day. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to turn it off because you are one of the most loving and giving people I think I've ever met. Aislinn and I have the opportunity to do some work together, so I do know very well how you do spread that love and how you take care of me, which I thank you so much. But isn't it interesting that even though it's more muscles to frown and all of that, we just revert to that. I mean, it's just like this second nature to be negative or to complain, and when it really is more liberating and much easier to smile, to spread that love. And I'm not really sure why we do that and why we are so instantly drawn to being a little judgmental sometimes.
Absolutely. If you look at it like a can of paint, right? Everybody's a can of white paint, right? You drop a little bit of a dark color in there, which is what all the anger, hostility is. So all of a sudden, that whole beautiful white can of paint is tainted. And it takes so much more to get that color out of the white paint. Whereas if we were all just shiny, bright white paint all the time, then life would certainly be easier. So while it's a struggle, it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Listen, you said like the whole, giving a smile. I mean, it's hard to do that wearing a mask right now, but you smile with your eyes too. Mm-hmm. When you go someplace and you give somebody that look, and even just looking them in the eye and not altering your view, not looking away, looking at that person, I think right now, especially, we are striving and longing for connection with one another. We don't go out as much. We don't interact with people. And those moments that we do, that momentary eye contact with somebody, that could be the only time they see somebody now in a week or more,
So true. It's interesting that you say that about smiling with your eyes, because my daughter sent me a gift. It was my first cloth mask. I'd been wearing the regular medical one, and of course it had lemons all over.
Yay!
So I put it on and I took a picture. I wanted to take a picture and post that. But you know what? I looked at myself not smiling, and then I went, well, I wonder what happens when I smile. So I smiled. It was such a difference, even though you couldn't see, you could see this huge difference in the way my eyes were so much more expressive because I was smiling behind the mask. And that was like a revelation to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You feel it in your cheekbones. Like when I get on these calls with the people that I love that I can't be around, these calls have been like, the lifeblood lately, right? I literally have to get off the call and go like this because I can't stop smiling.
Right.
And the one errand I run every single week is to the UPS store, right? Because thank you, Amazon. Like, shout out to them. And I walk into the UPS store with the intent to make everybody in there laugh and smile. Like they are all waiting in lines, and I always feel like a little bit of a brat because I kind of just stroll through and check my box and then stroll back out. So I'm having to kind of cut through the whole store, but I will smile and make a joke with the staff there because they've had such a hard go of things. But yeah, if I do nothing but turn on that room once a week, that's my goal. And between that and these calls, like my cheekbones.
It's important. Like everywhere I go, I look at the employees wherever they are and I say, thank you for working so hard.
Absolutely.
I mean, my kids are like, seriously, but every single person, thank you for working so hard. Thank you for working so hard. I think people just don't realize that other people appreciate what they're doing. And you smile at them and you say that simple, thanks for doing your job. Mm-hmm. And it changes who they are because like you said, we're so angry right now. And most of what people are hearing is anger and vitriol, and people just, they take out those, however they're feeling, on the first person they come in contact with, many times it's those employees. And I feel bad for those people, and they're just trying to do their job. So thanks for working so hard. And a smile, it makes somebody's day.
3 simple words in every relationship, from your mother, your brother, your cousin, your loved one, your kids. 3 simple words turns on this light that I feel in people. It's just, I appreciate you. Because without you, I wouldn't have whatever connection we share. Just, I appreciate you. If UPS, if Garrett at UPS hadn't decided to open a UPS store, I don't know where I'd get my mail. I don't know where I'd get my monthly vitamins, my silly things, that just the little things that make me feel like me, right? So, hey, dude, I appreciate you. Anything I can do? I got 5 minutes. What you need me to do? You mean take these? What do you want me to do? Just giving back and coming from a place of love and really sharing that little bit of yourself. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't make you worse off if you're not giving all of you. But if we all gave just a little bit of love to each other, I couldn't even imagine what this world looks like.
What do you do, Lynn, to throw in that little bit of love to those around you? I asked you because when I think of Lynn Brown, I think of love, because I think everything, so much love resonates out of you in your books and your stories. So.
Oh, well, thank you, Michelle, and thank you for having me be part of this. This is really fun. And Lemonade Stand's been just a blast to be part of all of this. I think it's important to get your own happy on. I think that you need to find that place inside of you that you are settled and you can appreciate other people, and you sincerely need to speak out. I tell my friends that I love them all the time. I tell my kids that I love them all the time. This not hugging thing has been a real problem for me. Because sometimes you forget and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can't hug you. I think you need to start from a place of sincerity. And sometimes it takes a while for people to get there. So start from that place of sincerity and let them know. I think appreciating somebody is good. I think, like Christina said, telling them that you appreciate them. I stopped a police officer here not too long ago and told them how much I appreciated the work that they were doing. And I think that those types of things at this point in time, as Christina brought up, and this anguish and a lot of anger, what Aislinn was talking about, all of these things that are going on in the country, you have to stop and remember, as my neighbor pointed out to me, that that's a very small part of people, and people are generally good. Most people are very good and want the love. So I don't know if I'm answering your question in the way that you want me to, Michelle, but I would say that I think saying I love you, I do think saying I appreciate you, I care about you, I want to see you, you're important to me, and to let other people know that you're thankful that they're in your life. Those are probably the most important things that you can do. Let other people know that they are important,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so thrilled that you guys brought up the little things that we can do, because talking about spreading love could be a big topic. It could be this huge, big things that you're doing. Your Mother Teresa. Not many people can be Mother Teresa.
You're showing your age.
There's a reason there was one.
Yeah. I mean, especially now, I think it is the little things. I know one thing my husband does is he always asks the name of the server in a restaurant, because he wants to address them by their name and to thank them using their name. I can remember one time when I was at a grocery store, I was checking out, and my daughter called, and I always, I'm the mother, I'm always worried that something's, wrong.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to just not answer, but I did pick it up, and I said, hi, honey, is it okay if I call you right back, because I'm checking out? And she's like, yeah, and I put it back down. And the cashier stopped, and she said, thank you so much. Even just giving her the respect of not being on my cell phone while she was checking me out meant a lot to her. And so I think we need to just take that step back and think about the little things.
Mhm.
I think at their core, people, and I've said this for years, that the one thing that people want and that we all have in common is that we want to know that we matter. We
Yes.
want to know that we matter to someone.
Mhm.
And I think that it is when people don't realize that they matter to someone is when they get lost. And when we feel that we don't matter, that we are dispensable, that's when we get off track and we get lost. And so those momentary things that we do, the cashier, like not being on the phone and stopping the police officer, those momentary things that we stop and do, and we allow someone to feel that they matter, a look, a smile, that is what changes people. And that is, you don't know what somebody did 2 minutes ago or what their life is like. I say all the time that my kids come to school with all kinds of baggage, and I don't know what that baggage is when they show up at my door. And so when they show up in the classroom, I have to be ready to teach the person that is right in front of me, and I can't see what's with them and what they bring into that room. So I just want to make that child feel that they're important and that they matter. And with everybody needs to know that they matter. So whether it's that smile, that kind word, that, hey, whatever it is that you can do to help in that second somebody feel that they matter, that's the important thing.
Well, and I think you need to give people grace. You need to
Mhm.
learn to give people grace.
Mhm.
And there so many times, you hear about road rage and all these other little things, and you just need to understand that you don't really know where someone's coming from. Like what you were saying, Christina, you don't know what's happened. So you need to give grace.
I think grace is one of my key words, because in this whole thing that we've done and this whole pandemic, grace is something I need. I need to give it to myself, and I need to give it to other people too,
Mhm.
because again, you don't know what somebody has in their heart. You don't know what they're dealing with. So
Right.
you give that grace. Whatever you want to have from somebody else, you have to give it to yourself too.
There's a reason they call it the golden rule, right? Treat others how
Right.
you would want to be treated. If you're, you brought up road rage, and I always feel like I do things wrong, but not because I mean to, just because I'm doing me, right? Do your best self, right?
Right.
Me in the car, like we are friends. And so as little as I get to drive now, when I get on the on the freeway on the 101, it's not road rage. I'm just happy to be in my car, and me and Mariah are getting along like insanely well at the moment. And before I know it, she does 90. I'm like, yeah, no, I should really slow this down. But all those people, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not more important than you. I'm just in my bubble. So, excuse me.
And there's not a lot of traffic now because people are staying home, so the roads are more open. Life is good.
Freeing, right? So I need grace. Yeah. So thank you. I'm going to give grace because I know at one point I'm going to need it, and it's going to be at 90 miles an hour. That's just where I live.
Be careful, Aislinn.
Absolutely. It's only open.
All right. Well, I think we're all feeling the love right now, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to have you lead off, Kristine, on empowerment, because I look at what you do and what I know of you, and I know as a 5th grade teacher, you need to empower those kids because they got to start learning it at a young age. You're an empowerment coach, so you're teaching it all the time. But I also want to mention Girls on the Run, which is your passion and your organization that you support, and you are empowering those young women.
And I started doing Girls on the Run years and years ago, and what I didn't realize was that I needed to hear the messages that I was giving those girls of empowerment and positive body image, positive self-image. And as I taught them, they were sinking in. It was like that getting it by osmosis kind of thing. And what I've realized in the many years that I've been doing it is that there are a lot of women, older, my age, and that missed that generation that need to hear those words. that still have body image issues, that still have, you know, that are still threatened by other women. I had this discussion today with a friend about how many women are intimidated by strong female presence because that's not the norm. That's not the common thing. And so I think that we women, we need to love ourselves first. And we're so hypercritical, like you talked about imposter syndrome, you know, we're so hypercritical of ourselves. And we look at the screen and we look in the mirror and we see every little thing that's wrong with us. All those things that nobody else will see, but we see them all. We can pick them out. And unless somebody else points it out, you know, we wouldn't notice it. You know, we notice it, but nobody else does. And so I think that once we are confident with who we are and, you know, we give ourselves that grace that we need, we feel more empowered and we can do more. And you know, I've said this before, and I said it in my chapter of the book, that women are so powerful when they work together. And we have been taught from a very young age not to work together, that the backbiting and the, you know, that insecurity that we feel is what other people bank on. And that's not and they do it because they want to keep us at a certain level. When we women work together and we play off each other's strengths, that's when we really go places. And that's one of the things that doing the book really taught me, was that I wasn't feeling really secure. I mean, I know that I like to write and things like that, but I wasn't really secure about sharing that story and putting it all out there and doing all the steps of the process. I didn't know how to do that. And all of the women in the book taught me not only to be more confident in my ability, but in the steps of the process, and being able to share that story in a way that it doesn't demean me as a person, but empowers others through sharing that story. Because when you know, and Aislinn has said this too, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to share that part of you that you're not really proud of, you allow others to do the same thing. And you allow others to be courageous and to build on that courage. And then we as women, we can build off each other. It's that pyramid thing, you know, we just get stronger together.
There's a reason Beyonce wrote the song, babes. It's who runs the world? Girls. And I saw that, like, my lemon ladies, I refer to you guys quite often. Right. I'm like, no, my lemon ladies, you have no idea what we've been through. And that is just such a drop in the bucket of all the powerful stories out there. You know, we all know the celebrity stories, the J-Lo stories, the Oprah stories, that exist every single day. But we have isolated ourselves, like you said, from kids and even different generations. I'm finally seeing now the power of women. I was raised with two knucklehead brothers, one on each side. And so I had no idea. And I was always, you know, by myself. So knowing you ladies and knowing the sisterhood that's out there, oh, we're coming. Like, it's going to be a way different world. There's a reason they had to turn us like against each other at first. It's because they're so afraid of what things that we're going to accomplish with all the love and with all the intelligence and with all the compassion and strength. It just does not stop. And it's not to say the men don't have it as well. We all as people have it. It's just, ladies, we got a little behind the curve. So we're celebrating it a little bit more, right? We're feeling it a little bit more. Men have had their bonds. They've had their golf courses. They've had their freaking bars. They've had their traditions, their moments. Ladies, we're doing that now. So it's not that it's any different. It's just new. So that's the conversation. That's what we're feeling now. And that empowerment, babe, oh, you got behind me and got in my heart like nobody else. You and Sam Roots, like, that is the perfect last name for her, because she will root for you like no other, right?
It's the truth. And I think that, like, we need to see each other for what we can offer each other and how we can build off one another and help each other. And I think that, like I said, we've been so conditioned to be against one another that once we start to work together, girl, we are unstoppable. And that scares people. That, I mean, we've seen it in politics right now with women. Women scare the men in politics because they're starting to come together and they're starting to work together and stand up for themselves. And when we stand up for ourselves and who we are, and we feel that our own strength and we see it, and we can stand up for the things that matter, that is true power. We are finding that our place is no longer in a kitchen or in the home. And if that's a woman's choice, then, you know, all right. But every woman now has a choice to be where they want to be. And those choices are astronomical. And that's what I try and tell my students, is that you have so many choices, way more choices than we've had in the past. And the jobs that I may prepare them for now aren't going to exist when they get into the workforce. There's going to be all new ones being created. So they have to be thinkers, and they have to be really behind each other so that they can help each other, and they can help each other grow and really be the best humans that they can be. And the one thing, you know, kids that I've taught have always told me this, that I only want them to be the best human that they can be. Whatever that human is, be the best one. Be that best human being. Be the best Aislinn. Be the best Michelle. Be the best Lynn. Be that best human being that you are, and you are going to give the world the biggest gift ever. But you have to see who that is. And that's what I want them to see, is all that is inside them, whether that's a kid, an adult, whatever. See the beauty that is inside you.
Absolutely. I love that.
One thing I think is important to remember in all of this conversation, and the empowerment conversation in every arena, is to ask yourself, am I uplifting? Because if you're not uplifting something, you are certainly then, what was the phrase they used to call it, a hit me, kiss me syndrome, you know, where you, it was backhanded comments, all of those sorts of things. And I think you need to ask yourself if you are uplifting, particularly in the arena that we are in right now, and particularly with the lemonade stand and with the people that we speak to, whether you being a speaker, an author, or whatever, is are you uplifting? Because what was in the olden days, my grandmother, they would say, what is it you can get more? Is it?
You can catch more flies with honey?
Well, more flies with honey. Yes, more flies with honey.
Than with vinegar.
I think that if you choose to be uplifting, and you choose to, and it doesn't have to be silly, simple, without depth or any of that, but when you choose to be uplifting, and you choose to smile, and you choose to be happy, and you choose to be strong, and you choose to go forward, if you don't take positive with you, you certainly will find yourself 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards. So I think we need to be really aware of the positive aspect of power.
And I don't think it's Pollyanna. You know, you're not seeing like the world is so beautiful and we're going to be happy and you know, singing songs all day long and skipping along the street. It just means that yeah, it just means that you need to see the good. You know, you can see that glass is half empty, or you can see it as half full, or you can even see it as, thank God I got something in my glass. You know, no matter what that is, whether it's wine or lemonade.
That, Christina.
I got something in my glass. Woo!
You guys always make me laugh, but you are so right in everything that's been said. And you can call it the silver lining, or you can call it the glass half full, or something in my glass. I call it the lemonade.
That's right.
But I do think you're right, because really there's probably nothing more annoying than a Pollyanna that's just like, oh, that's good. You just like gotta go, ugh. But the person that comes in there and say, yeah, that situation kind of sucks, it's bad. you know. However, have you ever thought about it in this way? You know, and it's just such a different to be able to look upon it as there's hope in it, you know?
Well, and I think too, like you see that hope and things like that, but it's also, there's a lot that is not good right now. There is a lot that people are going through. And sometimes people don't want you to fix it. They don't want all that stuff. Sometimes, you know, they just want you to sit with them in the sucky place. You know, it's bad. And I'm not going to tell you that it's going to get better anytime soon, but I'm going to sit with you right here, and we're going to sit together, and we're not going to sit for very long, because we can't sit, because then we stagnate. But we're going to sit, we're going to embrace that bad part, and then we're going to move forward. And is it going to be easy, and is it going to be quick, and is it going to be good right away? No, but we're going to make it work. And I think that vulnerability and reality is really, really important for people. And I think they long for it. I think when you do get that like Pollyanna thing and tell people, oh, you know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. We're going to get through it. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Not
start to doubt you. You know, they doubt you. And I don't want people to doubt me because I'm not telling them the truth. I don't always want to hear that it's going to be better tomorrow. I know it's not. So don't lie to me.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I believe that one of the things that comes from empowerment, and one of the things that just even draws you to that word, right? It's not even so much the power, but it's recognizing the power of choice. You can choose to let whatever obstacles, whatever feelings, whatever is in front of you, you can choose to let that stop you there. You can make that choice. If it needs to stop you where you are and you can't do anything but get up, go to bed, get up, eat, drink, whatever, and go to bed, fine. Then it's stopping you in that moment. Your situation and where you are at right now is entirely within your choice. It's your choice to let it make you stay there, or it's your choice to get up and figure something out. You may not have the answers, and it may be a long time before things are okay. But you know what? It starts with a step, and it starts with, it's not failure. Like I hate, oh, I'm a failure, because that's not a thing. You just haven't succeeded yet. You have found every other which way in which you know you're not living your best life. You're not living the life that feels 100% authentic, 100% you. You haven't found your tribe. You haven't found your true colors yet. And that's okay. You haven't failed at anything. I hate that word more than anything, because it's a choice to let that stop you. Push through.
What you're saying, Aislinn, the key word is choice, I think, and maybe we don't have a choice in every chapter of our life as some circumstances unfold. However, you do have a choice in how your future chapters are going to look. So, and you have to see that. You have to see that you have a choice. In all the stories that were written in the lemonade stand, from sour to sweet, there were choices that were made that moved them and propelled them forward to a life that some of them never expected would happen. So choices are huge.
That's what I was going to say, that one of the things when I mean, I don't know if the people that are watching this know this, but we all wrote in isolation. Like, we all wrote and didn't read each other's stories until we were all done. And so when it was all done and Michelle compiled it, then we got to read each other's stories.
Right.
And for me, that was the watershed moment, because I got to see the commonalities with all the other women in that book. And it was literally like a palm to my face saying, I'm not alone.
Yes.
Like, holy crud, all of these other women are like, they're like me. They're just like me. They've had really, really tough times and come through it the other side and been better for it. And wow, I'm not alone, you know? And at first, I didn't know if I wanted to do it because I didn't think that my story was worthy. And then reading the other stories, I'm like, it's not that I'm not worthy. Mine is just different. the actual core of the story was different, but the overarching theme of it all wasn't very different. We all have been dealt really crummy cards sometimes and gotten a really bad hand, but we all played it really well. We all played our hand really well and came off with a winning hand, you know? And so for me, that was really, really important, was to read all those stories and read how diverse they were, but at their core, how inspiring and the same they were.
I love that. Like the Lemon Ladies, I tell you guys over and over again, that was the aha moment for me. Was I felt like such an idiot. Like everything that I had been dealt, you only know how to react so many different ways. But then when I saw all of these women, and I was like, oh my gosh, the heartbreak that is out there, and they're still thriving today. And Michelle, like your heart for turning lemons to lemonade, and your soul for getting women together and getting voices together and telling our story. I heard it 1,000 times in just starting a business, you know, the power of your story. You are the only person that I believe it from. And it's not only just you pushing me to write my story, you shedding that tear for me and the 17 other ladies that were involved. It's huge. It's so huge. We are not alone. And it's that collective voice. I can reach out to Kristine anytime and be like, hey, babe, what do you think about this? You know, we have built this very small network that you can fast forward 10 years and you can see the reach that it'll have in that common thread, that we are not alone. And we don't know why we isolate ourselves and think that we're so much far less than what we are. But when we build each other up and when we come together and we realize it's that aha moment, I can't not cry about it. Like I have that book every room in my house just to remember that I'm not alone.
Yes.
And
It's
I
right
think
there.
Well, look behind me.
It sits right next to me. I mean, and I agree with that, because I think that for me, it was like, well, I don't want to share my story because I'm the only one or whatever. But what I've realized is that in sharing my story, I've given other people permission to share theirs. And in being vulnerable with my story and allowing myself that grace to open up, I have allowed other women to come to me and say, like, oh my God, because of you, I can do this, or I know that I can do this, or I know that, you know, and, you know, I think that whole being able to lean on somebody else and opening that door to others because we share, because we're brave, because they're, and I give the book and I tell people about the book all the time, and I say, well, you may not resonate with my story. My story may not be the one for you because, well, you know, it is what it is. But there's another story in that book that I am sure will resonate with you. And I'll be darned if I don't hear it all the time. You know, I read your story, I know who you are, like I get it. But there's another story, like Lynn's story, or your story, Aislinn, or your story, Michelle, that somebody's like, yeah, that really hit home for me. And I really love the way that she said X or Y. That really was the thing that really opened the door for me. And people will sit down and say, can we have coffee? I need to talk to you. And I think it's that telling of and opening the door allows other people that permission and empowers other women and men and children to say, hey, I think I can share who I am a little bit too.
I think as a, oh, go ahead, Michelle.
No.
I think there are certain things when you write your story and it's a nonfiction story, there are things that the author does with their story, and there are things that the story does for the author. And then there are things that the story does for the reader. The story, and particularly with the lemonade stand, the stories gave strength to women. They gave support to women from strangers that they would never have been able to, probably never know. And one of the things that was most important when I read the stories, and I'll be honest with you, because what you said is correct, we didn't see all the stories until they were all done. And some of them were very hard to work through. And you could read a chapter and then you really needed to just sort of sit down and process that. But I will say that the resonating tone of the whole book to me was that exactly what you guys were just saying, and that is that you're not alone. It let women know they're not alone. And I think oftentimes if you're in a situation and you do feel isolated and you are alone, that's when you are at your most vulnerable to stay there and not make choices to move on to another chapter of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and I was just going to say, you know, from my perspective of compiling the book, I will say that with the exception of just a few, there was resistance from just about everyone. And of course, you're sharing something very personal. And, you know, so I had to kind of walk you through, you know, that process of being okay with sharing. But here's what I found, is that oftentimes it was feeling shame or feeling that people were going to be judgmental. And here's the thing that I discovered through all of this, is that once you put it out there, the shame loses power.
Exactly correct.
Shame only is powerful when you hide it within yourself.
right.
So once it's out there,
100% true.
what do you have to lose at this point? Well, you know, it's like, and then I also say to people who say, well, what if somebody's judgmental about, you know, me or my life? And I say, well, are those really people that you want in your
Right.
life?
Right.
They can't accept you for who you are.
And do we value their judgment? You know, I always say to students and to, you know, adults and my own children, you have to consider the source. Who's judging you? And think about why. What are the comments that they're making? Is it to make themselves feel better? Is it, you know, what is that? But getting past that shame wall is difficult. And I feel like once you, I wrote this to you, Michelle. One of the things for me, it was like sitting in a dark room, and writing that story was like opening the curtains and letting the light in. And it was like I could see everything around me with a whole new set of eyes, and it was with clarity that I hadn't seen before. And I realized, like, sitting in the dark was really not fun. You know, it was not good. There was so much that I couldn't see and couldn't deal with. And so once we get past that shame wall and we open that up, we not only give ourselves permission to feel all the feels, which isn't always great sometimes, but it is what it is, but it also gives other people the permission to do that too. And I think that that's one of the things that this book has done, is it's really given other women and other people permission to take a deep look at themselves, take that deep dive and see what is stopping them. What are the things that are getting in their way, and what are they kind of keeping to themselves that they could share with somebody else, you know? And Lynn, I was really liked hearing your perspective as an author that has written more than one thing, you know, that like me, I've only written the one. So it was really interesting to hear how you viewed this, because it's completely different than, or a little bit different than what I see. You know what I mean? Like you're stepping and how you view the stories.
Yeah, it was, I was actually thrilled to read the stories. Some of them I could absolutely not identify with, but my heart broke for some of these women. And then I got to the end of their story and I just was cheering them on because of the strength that they came up with to get through it. And I completely agree with you, Michelle. Once that any kind of negative, bad internal emotion is released and it's out there, you're shedding it. You're giving it away. And if people do judge you, I will tell you this, ladies, one thing, and my mom truly used to say to me, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. She really did. That was one of her things. But the other thing that she said to me, and I have told my kids this, is don't let the turkeys get you down. And that's what when you were talking about judgment and all that kind of thing, those are the things that you really need to be aware of. And that's where the uplifting comes in. And that's where you make choices. Again, that word choice is coming out as to who you want to spend your time with. And, you know, throughout your life, sometimes that changes. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, you know what, that person is really not good for me. So, and you can say, I do love you, I care about you, but I can't have you be a part of my life. And sometimes that's just the way that goes. And then, and like anything else, you turn the page and you move into a new chapter and you help yourself to succeed personally.
And I think that's also why Lynn is joining us for book number 2. So I have to applaud you for that, because I'm really excited to have you be a part of that. And the really fun thing is nobody ever has one story.
Yes, that's true.
So, you know, it'll be a completely different story that comes into this one. And I just am thrilled that have gotten to know all of you and everyone else that's been a part of it. And it's also made me more courageous to go out there and ask people about their stories, you know, and try to learn what they're all about. So we're still kind of talking all about the same thing, but to make sure we're kind of touching on all the elements of Chelsea's book too, and how we relate is coming from the heart. Well, we've all been coming from the heart for the last, 30, 40 minutes here. It is all about coming from the heart. But in particular, I just want to say that when you're sharing your story, that is 150% coming from your heart. There's no way you can share your story without really coming from the heart and in how you're thinking. And here's the point I want to make about that is when you come from the heart, you are sharing such a gift. What comes from your heart is a gift.
Well, you were so beautiful in the way that you put it into the book as the heart words. And it's on the back of the book with our heart, with all of us and our words that we had. And I think that shows it kind of drilled down our story to 1 or 2 words, but it is the real heart of what we're doing and what we're doing in the book, in sharing our stories.
Well, I think you're also, you're clarifying a life event in a nonfiction situation like the lemonade stand. You're clarifying your own life event and you're remembering what happened and you're preserving the reality of that. And you therefore get to own that as part of your experience, which is really part of who you are. And then it becomes sort of moves into another chapter where it's an historical account of your life. And look at all of the stories that have been written in this book. The children and grandchildren of these women can go back and say, they may even at some point in time even be able to identify in their own life circumstances what's going on and realize that if their mother or their grandmother, their aunt, their uncle, blah, 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 made it through, well, not their uncle in this particular case, but maybe later, maybe that's later, made it through these circumstances, they can too. And I think that's something that is important when you put something on paper and you tell your story from the author perspective. If you go through that cycle and you own your story, and then it becomes an historical account of what was one chapter of your life. No matter how long that chapter was, it was a chapter, and it's part of your history.
Well, that's really cool that you mentioned that, Lynn, because that was one of my motivating factors, is I wanted to give something to my kids. I mean, they know that I have a hearing loss, and they know what it's like to live with me with a hearing loss, but they don't understand what I went through, and they don't understand how it shaped me and my way of thinking and my determination to, to be able to do the things that people said I wouldn't be able to do. those were the things that I wanted to put down in my chapter so that my kids would know that and understand that and maybe have a little bit different perspective of their mom.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. When I wrote 3, and it was published in 2017, still to this day, our daughter can't read it. And it's interesting because she will at some point in time, but you do want, it's a great, again, like what you're saying, Michelle, with your story, it is a historical perspective of something very traumatic that happened in our little family. And the kids being a huge part of that because it was about a car accident they were in. And still to this day, she can't read it, but she will. And she will always have that in front of her as a resource. And so I think that's really important.
And I like what you said about the history part, like that it is written down, it is something, and it's from your perspective. Mm-hmm. And so when, I mean, it was really important for me to have my kids read my story because they were a part of it. And I didn't want to tell their story in part of telling mine. I wanted it to be from my perspective, not theirs. And maybe someday they will tell their part of the story. I'm not sure, but I didn't want to overstep and take mm-hmm. on their story. And so when, they have children or whatever, somebody has that to read and can say, well, yeah, if she did it, I can. Grandma did that, or, auntie did that, I know that I could do that, oh, that's why she is the way she is because mm-hmm. she did that, mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. I think that it's important to write that down from your own perspective.
Well, from your heart, like what Michelle is saying. From
right.
Your heart.
Yeah. Exactly. Wow. We've been talking about so many great things, and we still have to touch on one more thing. We touch on and talk about living the dream.
The dream. Okay. All right. Well, we've touched on a lot of things already, so I'll just sum all of that up, the living your dream, because we all have the opportunity every day with our choices, like we were talking about earlier, to uplift people. And when we can all plant positive seeds with people and through our stories, and whether they are, it's amazing, nonfiction, people can really grab a hold of that because that is something that they can identify with, depending on their own circumstances. With a nonfiction situation, sometimes you look at what our little kids have done over the years, and you see the little books that they read that they still remember as adults. So and they still smile about those. So even any kind of seed that is planted through the written word is something that can certainly turn into a positive situation for people. And I guess that's my goal. So having written 3 and then been involved in the lemonade stand, I just finished my 2nd book, and now Lemonade Stand's a 2nd book. I'm looking very much forward to writing that. And I just think that all of those are things that I always wanted to do. When I wrote 3, I always had wanted to write children's books, and I never thought the first book would actually be about my own children. And now my 2nd book is a fictional kids book based on a dream that I've had for years. And the Lemonade Stand was a wonderful opportunity for me to honor my mom. And I look forward to, like I said, doing the next article. So what I'm saying is these are the things that I've always wanted to do. These are the things that I've felt I've wanted to do. And everything has a right time in your life to lead you to your next chapter. And I will say that with everything that has happened, I have been led chapter to chapter to chapter. And I am living the dream, and I do have a beautiful life. Part of that is because I choose to have a beautiful life. I choose to try and make the things that are really important to me, to really emphasize those. And that by no means, I can be critical. We can all be critical. We can all go to the dark side. And you have to, pull yourself out of that and just make a choice to live a beautiful life, to be positive, to uplift. And that's what the direction that I've chosen to take in my writing. And in, I did try at one point in time to write a book that was a little bit darker, and I had to abandon the entire project because I just can't let my mind go there. I don't know how these people write these horror books, because that would be, you'd have to live there. You all know, having written, you live what you're writing. And that's a tough place for me to be. But I would have to say that that would be it. Stories move you forward. Your stories move you forward. You have choices. And I choose to see the glass half full. And I did love what you said, however, though, just really glad you got something in the glass. I never really thought about that. That was pretty good. But life can be beautiful amidst all the chaos and amidst all the crazy. I do think sometimes about I don't know if all of you know who Corrie ten Boom is. Most of my books are written from a place of faith. And she was a captive during World War II by the Nazis. And this woman, man, I'm telling you, she was the type of person like a Mother Teresa, in that as everything was slowly taken away, it's almost like I think of her as she saw a speck of dust in the corner and chose that piece of dust to be her best friend. And she was going to be hopeful, and she was going to be faithful, and she was going to help uplift the rest of the women in the concentration camp. And I think that that's an incredibly admirable goal. So she, amidst all that, she led, got out of that situation, wrote books, and did some beautiful things. So choices.
I love your perspective. So many people would say living the dream is being on the beach,
Oh.
And seriously, yeah. I mean, that's what comes to mind, I think, to a lot of people. And I love that you put it in that perspective, that living the dream really is being true to yourself. Mm-hmm. and being able to be true to yourself, and to be kind and to lift up someone and all those things. And that's a gift that we all have to be able to share.
Absolutely.
It's
so funny because my name actually means dream. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but yeah. And it ties perfectly to what we were just talking about with the historical reference of writing a nonfiction story. My mother came across a romance novel that she read while she was pregnant with me, and it's Aislinn is Gaelic for dream, and the heroine in this story, she had very much my heart and very much my determination, and what I call my mother says I have a real duality to me, and I attribute that to being born a Pisces. Don't let the Care Bear, this is how I prefer to be, but I can go to a very dark place. And I think that the chapter I wrote about, I had to shed that, and that's where I was living. I was in a very dark world, being with the characters that I was in that plot with. It was a very dark, hard world that I was in, and I had to go through that and learn through that and become the fighter that I can be now for good. Mm-hmm. And I love that I have a son, and that he can see how I had to keep him from that part of it, and how he is such an amazing man now, and such an amazing person. And all I ever wanted as a mother was to create a better person that I could ever be. And I've done that. And so
you planted all of those seeds already, Aislinn, with yourself, and then your son will see those seeds of hope, those seeds of love, seeds of faith in living, and all of those things can turn around a life.
Well, and it does. And so it's so funny because a lot of my professional network is actually growing and becoming men. And I've handed them the lemonade stand and been like, look, this is me. I'm about to be all in your world, in your home, helping you. And I want you to know where I'm coming from. And that was actually Sam's idea, because it was amazing to, you know, shed and be that vulnerable, because as a professional organizer, as somebody who's advocating for you to make these big, scary changes, you can't come in like you know everything. I had to show them my mistakes and let them know we're on equal playing ground. And it's amazing how many men have read my story, or I've picked up another story from the book and have said, wow, like men suck. I'm like, yeah, see? And how it's inspired them to really see things from a different lens. And it really has brought, from my perspective and my experience, it's really kind of brought everybody to the table. And I've seen the light bulb go off and be like, no, you know, that's not me. I need to let the women in my life know that there are good men still out there. And these men have their own terrible stories. I'm like, dang, a girl did that to you? Like, because we have our perspective of females, but we're not all apples and oranges, you know, we're not all amazing sunshine and pretty flowers. We have some dark things in us, ladies.
Yes, we do.
And so it's just such a, I know we talk about the power of womanhood and stuff like that, but it's just so amazing to me how Michelle's idea to tell stories and to make the choice to make lemonade, because that's a process. Have you ever tried to make lemonade? First of all, it's not an easy thing to do. I was like, you know what, I'm going to make lemonade, but I really want to know how to make lemonade. So yeah, me and Google had a field day in captivity here. I'd be like, I'm going to make lemonade, dang it. Have a lemon
A lot of sugar involved in that, Aislinn.
And so many steps.
Which I love.
I had to learn that it wasn't just opening the jar and taking the mix out and mixing it with water. You actually had to squeeze some lemons.
And lots of them, let me tell you. There was a lot of trial and error in that batch.
No, we're going to have a little lemonade making contest.
Ooh.
I want to give Kristine, you got about a minute to wrap up Living the Dream. And then,
well, for me, I mean, the dream is different for everybody, you know, and you said, oh, well, it's on the beach and this and that. Well, you know, everybody's dream is different. For me, having kids was easy, and I have 5 of them, and I love every single one of them. But for some women, that's not easy. And the dream might just be being a parent. For some women, it's not being a parent. For some women, a dream is, you know, having their own business or being able to, you know, pay the bills. Everybody's dream is different, and we need to validate everybody's dream, no matter how small or how big it is. And I think that for me is a big thing. And one of the women's groups I got to speak to was a women's sobriety group. And for them, their dream was just to remain sober. And so that was really empowering for me to kind of get that little mind shift about that's a dream. Sobriety is a dream. So everybody's dream is valid, it is important, and it's different. You know, Lynn's is different than mine, is different than Michelle's, is different than Aislinn's. So, and that dream changes every single day. You know, it grows and it changes, and it's a living, breathing thing. So we need to empower each other to continuously strive for that dream and continuously change that dream. You know, one thing I will say about Michelle is that she's been amazing at that, and amazing at, well, not just pushing, but shoving me along the way to those dreams. Like, what are you doing today?
Yes.
What are you doing? You know, how you doing with that? What's going on with that? Like, are you moving towards this? You know, and so for me, that's been really empowering to shift that dream a little bit and know that I can't stop, that this is, doing this book and sharing the story was just one little part of my dream, and it's going to grow and it's going to change. And the women in this book are there to help me do that and to change that dream and to grow that dream every single day. And so that for me has been a really important thing and really validating.
You all are amazing, and I am living my dream, because I can't think of anything better than connecting with amazing women, hearing about their stories, hearing about empowering themselves, to become better people and to move themselves out of situations, to make choices. So that is my dream. And we're over time, so I have to wrap this up. But thank you. You all are absolutely fantastically, wonderfully great. And so I would say, here's your call to action, people out there. Go to Amazon, get the lemonade stand, find out about these women and more. Everybody's contact information is in there as well. That's all I have time for, so we've just got to wrap it up with just giving Chelsea another shout out. So here we go. We're going to pop up her information again and just remind everyone that we are here as a guest of Chelsea Colley in the virtual The Best of You Expo located in Los Angeles. Chelsea's book is Be a Life Breather, and she's got a bunch of fun gifts to give you if you just text gift box to 26786. And with that, I want to say thank you so much to all of you, and I look forward to our continuing conversation because we're not done yet.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you
We'll
very
never
much.
be done with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's how I end all my student Zoom calls. So I will end my Zoom call with you guys this way with a heart.
Love that.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who's been listening in on this. Appreciation there. So, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.